So Trump's in office, and they've got that DOGE program, the Department of Government Efficiency. So they're trying to cut out all the wasteful spending in the government, which I'm all for.
So I can actually answer some of your questions on this, and I hope you're willing to hear me out and watch this video all the way through to the end. Because I actually have family that lives in the Midwest and are farmers. I think farmers get a lot of shit. I think most Americans don't know much about farming, don't know how food ends up on their table, do not differentiate between corporate farming and the average regular American farmer. Usually I suss it out by asking people, what do they know about right to repair? 9 times out of 10, it's a deer in the headlights look at me, and I know pretty much what I need to and where I need to start in having conversations. Having said that, I'm going to tell you what I told my family. When you or I or the average American thinks about waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, whether that be at the federal, state, or local level, because it happens in all three, when you or I think about the idea of waste, fraud, and abuse, we think about it in that our tax dollars, our hard-earned money, the taxes that we pay in, that money is being spent in a way that is not benefiting us. It is wasteful, it is being abused, there is corruption. That money is not being spent to benefit the taxpayer, the person that is paying into the system, that our tax dollars should be benefiting us, and that the money, the waste, fraud, and abuse is being spent in a way that is not benefiting us. The problem is the people you voted for, Donald Trump, the people in his orbit like Russell Vought, Elon Musk, and this DOGE, they think of waste, fraud, and abuse as you, as the American taxpayer. The American taxpayer is the waste, fraud, and abuse, because their idea is that these systems should be privatized, not so that it's better for us or a well-run system. It's simply because the money is filtered through them. It makes them money. You are wasteful as a taxpayer not using a privatized system because they don't see that money. I really need y'all to start wrapping your minds around the idea. They are not here to help you. They see you as dollar signs. This whole thing is being set up and done in a way to not make it more efficient to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, to double down on it and the corruption. They want everything privatized because they want more wealth and power for themselves. And that is by no means to let Democrats off the hook. There are many a member in Congress, regardless of political party, that are simply there to be corporate lapdogs. That is their job. They are not there to serve the interests of the American people or their constituents. They are there to serve corporations and lobbyists and billionaires like Elon Musk and Steve Schwarzman. There are 801 billionaires in the United States. They are there to serve them. I want to take this opportunity to read you what I sent my family a day or two after the election, because I think it will help you to understand where a lot of people are coming from. I think for a lot of you, there was a misunderstanding about what this election truly represented. I was happy to vote for Kamala Harris, but did not expect her to deviate from a Democratic Party that, just like Republicans, is serving the interests of themselves, corporations, and the wealthiest Americans. I was under no illusion that this election was about any party helping the working class, because class struggle very rarely is represented or discussed in politics. The radical ideas of lowering drug prices, investing in infrastructure, a pathway to citizenship, bodily autonomy, expanding healthcare, and so many other things are working class issues. The only people who do not benefit from these changes are the people with the power and money. Politicians are very unlikely to buck special interests and forego the money and power that accompanies being a politician for the lower and middle class. Those changes and that work was always going to come from community building and organizing. This election was about the very real threat to people's safety, their lives, their bodies. And now, because of a decision you made, we are careening into some of the darkest and most dangerous of times. I'm sure for a lot of you, that sounds like hyperbole, but I can assure you it is not. And when you understand that, saying "I told you so" won't mean anything or matter at all, because it'll be too late. The only way to undo what you have just done is through the very work so many people have already been doing. The organizing and activism and advocating from the very groups you just threw to the wolves for your own interests because you chose something for yourself that will never come. Whether it takes days, months, or years for you to realize that is up to you. I can't say where your line will be. Mass deportations, violence against your neighbors, your family, your friends. Years of continued economic hardship because what you thought you were getting was actually just more wealth accumulation for corporations and the ultra wealthy. What I can say is that when you are ready, we'll be here, because our fight doesn't end with this loss. It can't. I can't promise to be nice or kind or gentle when you're ready to join us, but I can promise you that there will always be room for you, because in the end, we will need all of us for what is headed our way. I hope you get that money. I think you should. As an American taxpayer, that's exactly how I want my money spent, is helping the American people. I also think it should be spent on U.S. foreign aid that accounts for less than 1% of the entire U.S. budget. If we were actually interested in rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, we'd start with the Department of Defense, which behind entitlement programs is the largest chunk of the entire U.S. budget. But we're not going to start there, because that's where Elon Musk has multi-billion-dollar contracts. That's the last thing that gets touched, is the military budget. And you know what? The firing of the inspector generals, that doesn't seem like it's a big deal to people. Okay, well, the Department of Defense inspectors general, it was the person who found out that Boeing had overcharged the Department of Defense, the American taxpayers, nearly $1 million for various parts, including $150,000 for various laboratory soap dispensers. That's rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse. And he just took an axe to that entire system. Not because he's interested in rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, because he's looking to double down on it. They want that money for themselves. They are not interested in helping any of us. They want more money and more power. And you are a tool to that end. We are all tools to that end. That is all they see us as. You want a reference for it? We are pigs to slaughter for them. That's it. So I'm sorry you got played. Because this is the tip of the iceberg. This is only going to get worse. They are only going to continue to double down on this and make harsher cuts and limiting spending and firing more people. This will have massive ripple effects in so many different ways. And I need you to understand that we need you in this fight. But it is difficult to be kind to people. We warned from the get-go, this is exactly how this was going to go. I did not phone bank and knock on doors and do work for a fucking year last year to turn around and have this play out exactly like we knew it was going to, and have to give you a lot of grace. I don't have to do that. I have to understand, and do understand, we need all of us in this fight. The problem is, I'm not sure you're still there yet to understand it, to really get it, to join the correct fight with us, because you're still under the impression that these people are there to help you, and they are not. Donald Trump and his cronies see you as a cash cow. That's it. There is no help coming. We are the ones that are going to help each other, and I'm not sure you're quite there in understanding that to be ready to start doing that yet. Because there are a couple of things that I would like to end on that, just like in that message, that email I sent to my family, is not hyperbole in any way. This is the writing on the wall. It is a recurrence of history in a time where people seem to be forgetting it. This is not that far off. This again is not that crazy. This idea, this wasn't prevalent in the United States, that there aren't people with this sentiment who are in charge of key infrastructure of the government right now, that this is not what we could very much be headed back to, that there are people who will convince you that they are on your side when they absolutely are not, that they see a very rigid system on how things should go, and that if you don't fall in line, you could be on the chopping block just as easily. That these corporations and private equity firms and billionaires are chomping at the bit. They are salivating over the idea of these budget cuts and these massive layoffs and privatizing systems that we, 330 million Americans, rely on. I'm telling you what, I could keep going on and on about this. And in fact, I did for months prior to the election. We're here now. There's no going back. There's no undoing this. It is now moving forward, fighting forward from here. And we're going to need everybody in this fight. Things are going to get bad, real bad. And I hope that in the way that you're wanting grace from everyone else, you give a little too to the people who told you this is exactly what was going to happen. and understand why this is the reaction you're getting.